Okay, so sometimes you're going to have exponents and formulas. I don't think you're going to have particularly large exponents, but they come up. There's a lot of formulas in hydraulics, apparently. So, again, I don't know anything about hydraulics, but I've been looking through the information and the work. Okay, so what do we mean by an exponent? Let's say we have something like 6, and we would say to the 3rd power, or to the exponent of 3. So it's a little superscript. It's called a superscript. It's not 63. It's just the number up above. And what it means is 6 times 6 times 6. That's what it means, okay? So it's how many times you're multiplying whatever your number, it's called the base. This is called the base. And this is called the power or the exponent. Okay. So say you had like, I don't know, 2 to the 5th. Well, that's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which I don't know if you're going to see 2 to the 5th, but you might. Okay, so you probably are going to want a calculator. Some of them you might just know. I'm pretty sure this is 216. Now, how are you going to put that in a calculator? Well, you could just go 6 times 6 times 6, but calculators, scientific calculators, usually have an exponent button, okay? So like on mine, I have like a TI-30. I think it has this little mountain thing. That button is for exponents. So on my calculator, I would go 6, and then I'd put the little mountain button, it's the exponent one, and then a 3. Now I know some other calculators have y to the x, like that button, for an exponent button. And then some of them you put 6 and then the button and then the 3. Some of them I think you have to put in the other way. So you'll have to play around with that and get to know your calculator. I don't know if you're provided calculators in the FIRE program or not. Okay, but anyway, that's a little bit about calculators. And 2 to the 5th, well, it's 32, but that's just because I do a lot of math. But again, you could go 2 to the exponent of 5 and get that, okay? All right, now we're going to talk about square roots. The square root symbol is a radical sign that looks like that. And you have one on your calculator, on your scientific calculator. Let me just, yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, I'm not going to waste your time here. What are we doing with a square root? Well, let's say I have the square root of 25. What I'm thinking then is, what number, if I squared it, would be 25? So I'm trying to come up with that number. It's not a 7, but I'm trying to say, what number is that? Well, it's 5, right? So if I went 5 squared, I would get 25, okay? So the square root of 25 is 5. You don't put the square root on anymore. It's just 5, okay? Now, you have a square root button on your calculator. On my calculator, I have actually 2 calculators. I have the $13 calculator that's got the square root button, and it's right above my exponent button. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, no, it's not. It's right above, not on my calculator. It might be on yours, but mine's above the square button like that. Okay? So I have a button like that, and then right above it, it has that. This is in blue on my calculator, and I have to use the shift key. So like if I want to put, or the second key, sometimes they're called shift, and sometimes they're called second. So on my calculator, it's a second key. So I have to go second, and then I hit the x squared button, but that's going to give me the blue part. That's why it's shifting. It's shifting to that higher function. And then I would put in the 25, and then it would, and then the equal sign, and it's going to give me the answer 5. Okay, you'll have to play around with that a little bit. They can help you in the tutoring lab as well. But it just takes a little bit of time to figure out your calculator and how it's going to do it. Pretty much the only symbol is square root. I do want to say, though, we have other roots. Like you can have a cubed root, that's like that. You could have a fourth root or a fifth root. You're not really going to see those in this class. The common one is going to be square roots. So I don't know that you're going to see any other roots, but they do exist. You just have to take a different math class. Okay. It's really handy to be familiar with perfect squares like 1 and 4 and 9. I'll put them in order here, 16 and 25 and 36. You know, those, and it keeps going. You know, you could do perfect squares all day. But, you know, the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 9 is 3, the square root of 16 is 4, the square root of 25 is 5, the square root of 36 is 6. When my son played football, his first number was 16. So I was like, oh, that's a perfect square. And then the next year, like when he went to varsity, his number was 81. And so, oh, you're a perfect square. But anyway, now, not all numbers are perfect squares, though. So then we really have to use our calculators. So let's say we want to know the square root of 10. 10 is not a perfect square. So we have to go through that process. Like on my calculator, I'm going to go second, or the shift button, to get that blue thing. It's x squared, but see above it has the square root. So that's it'll show you on your display. It'll show you a square root. And then I'm going to put 10. So what happens if I do that? Let me grab my calculator because I don't know it. There is a way to do them by hand, and I learned that in junior high, and I've never used it since, because we have these handy calculators. So the square root of 10, on my calculator, this is an irrational number. It shows, and I have to put approximately, 3.162277766. Okay, that's what shows on my display. That is not an exact number. This decimal goes on and on and on, and it doesn't repeat, and so we're stuck with that. But what we're going to do is we're going to round it to 2 decimal places. So I would say, it's not an exact answer, but it's going to be good enough for our calculations, 3.16. And I think I talk about rounding in another video.